Make sure you mute your Chromebooks, please. All right, so warm up number 69 is on your screen. You should be, some of you already halfway done, maybe almost done. And it's still the same practice that we did yesterday, continuation. See how you're doing. Warm up 69. Yes. Oh, you can see it? Oh, give me a second. Anyone else doesn't see it? Refresh your screen, see if that does it. Did it come up? Okay, I shared again the screen, hopefully. There it is. Yeah. Okay. All right. So number one. Jaden, what'd you get for number one? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And factors? Squared. Hands, if you got that? That is correct. Number two, Ms. Q. All right. 8i. All right. Number three, addition. What'd you get for addition? JP, go. Thank you. That is correct. How about subtraction? What'd you get for subtraction? Anaya. What is it? 9. That is correct. Multiplication. Pass someone. Minus 5i. That is correct. Number division. Pass someone. All right, help her out, Jessica. All right, so the setup is I plus 2 divided by I minus 7. Once you do the division, you should have gotten 1 plus 9 over I minus 7. Hands, have you got that? Some of us, yes. Okay, good. All right. Number 4A. What'd you get for 4A, Fabian? Let's go. That is correct. Number 4B, Diego. What'd you get? 4x plus 4 equals f inverse of x. That is correct. All right, copy the agenda for today, please. Warm up number 69, quadratic equations. And your homework for tonight, only 4 itty bitty problem solving. And today we're moving on. Quadratic equations, we started with that semester 1. We're going to finish with that this semester. And you're going to see how it just continues to build up from there. We good? Once again, warm up 69, quadratic equations, solve 4 problems only, adjourn. And last night's home play, I'm gonna leave the window open so you can turn it in throughout the day. You have till 3:25. That was extra practice for you, but I just want to get us started and moving on. However, I do want to show you tonight's home play so you can take a screenshot or a picture. There it is. It's only 4 problems. The first one is to solve a quadratic equation by graphing square roots, factoring in quadratic formula. Numbers 2 and 3 is by completing the square, and number 4 is by completing the square and quadratic formula. So today we're going to cover the last 2 of how to solve these quadratics. Okay, so let's recap to see where we've been. Get a Cornell note ready and your objective. Here it goes. Objective: I can solve and graph quadratic equations by completing the square and quadratic formula. I can solve and graph quadratic equations by completing the square and quadratic formula. Copy that, please. All right, so our concept for today, we're in quadratic equations. We don't need a Fair model because we already have the notes for that one, but let's see if we remember what quadratic equations are. Share with your neighbor, see if they remember the definition for quadratic equations. Quadratic equations. Looks like Alyssa's got it. Very good, Alyssa. Steve's got it. All right, Steve, let's go. All right. So quadratic equations, let's see if you remembered correctly. They are 2 variable equations where the highest degree is 2. Yeah, pretty on the ball, yeah. And examples given, I gave you guys x squared plus 3x plus 2 equals y, x squared minus 9 equals y equals 3x squared minus 11x plus 6. Do they have 2 different variables? Yes. Is the highest degree 2? Yes. So look at the non-examples. Tell your neighbor why these are not quadratic equations. Talk it over with your neighbor. Why are those not quadratic equations? All right. The first 2, Delilah, why are those not quadratic equations? I'm sorry? Yeah, they're not an equation. All right. How about the last one, Caleb? Why is that one not a quadratic equation? Doesn't have the second variable, and what else? Yeah, the x needs to be squared. All right. So we got that. All right. Now from there, I remember when we got to quadratic equations, we solved them by graphing, square roots, and factoring. So writing your utensils down, look up to the screen. Here goes a quick recap. By graphing, we needed to set up a table such as this with a domain from -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2, substitute those in here into the equation and get our y values, plot our points and graph our equation. And the solution was where that graph crossed the x-axis. That's why we're pointing here to the solutions. That's by graphing. By square roots, we write the equation again, and then we set it equal to 0, and then we leave x by itself. So that means we add 4 to each side. X squared equals to 4. How do we cancel that squared? By taking the square root. That's why it's called by square roots. So at the end, we get x equals plus minus 2. And the third method was by factoring. I write the equation again and then set it equal to 0. And then from there, we see that it's a difference of squares. Here's the minus, squared and squared. So we take the square root of the first, that's x and x. Square root of the second, which is 4. Square root of 4 is +2 and -2. And these are my factors. Set each one equal to 0 and we solve. Is that ringing a bell? Yes, pretty good. All right. But now we need to get, and by the way, this is problem number 1, very similar to problem number 1 of your home play. Solving it these 3 ways. So with that said, let's go to problem for today by completing the square. Copy this, please. Example 1. Example 1. And it reads, by completing the square, x squared minus 6x minus 16 equals y. Write that down. All right. So with that said, writing utensils down, look up to the screen. I'm going to go step by step. This one has plenty of steps. I just want to make sure that you are following along as we complete the entire problem. Here it goes. So writing utensils down, I'll have you copy right after. So to solve a quadratic equation by completing the square, the first thing we check for, like always, is that it's in standard form. What is standard form? Let me refresh your memory. It needs to look like this. AX squared plus BX plus C, and it has to be equal to 0. That means from highest degree to lowest degree, and it has to be equal to 0. Is it from highest to lowest? Yes. Is it equal to 0? No. So the first thing we need to do is set it equal to 0. So this is x squared minus 6x minus 16 equal to 0. Just pay attention. I'll have you copy at the end. So step 1, there it is. Step 2. Step 2, we call it dividing by the LC. LC, we used that when we first started with polynomials. Turn to your neighbor, let them know what LC stands for, see if they remember. Very good, good sharing. Yeah, the leading coefficient. What's the leading coefficient here? Let me see. What is that number there? There is none, so that means I'm assuming it's a 1. So I'm going to divide that so you guys can see the step. Divide by the leading coefficient. X squared divided by 1 is x squared. Negative 6x divided by 1 is negative 6x. And negative 16 divided by 1 is negative 16. 0 divided by 1 is 0. The reason I once again, I wrote it so you can see the step. However, if I would have a different number there, I would divide by that number. All right, once again, you're just paying attention. You'll copy right after. Step 3. Step 3, writing utensils down. Here we go. In step 3, I need to eliminate the constant. By looking at this trinomial, the constant is a number with no variable, which is what? Negative 16. How do I eliminate that? I add 16 to each side. I end up with x squared minus 6x, leave an empty space, equal to 16. Now here goes the step that we've been practicing on the warm-up, step number 4. Complete the square. Turn to your neighbor, let them know what you need to do here to complete the square. So what we need to do to complete the square right here. Yes, you take negative 6 over 2 and you square it. But now since we have an equal sign, that means we need to do that to both sides of the equation. Now let me simplify this. X squared minus 6x plus, this is 9, equals to 16 plus 9. Can I simplify the right side a little bit more? Yes, 25 equals to x squared minus 6x plus 9. Mute your devices, please. Thank you. All right, copy that, please. Guys, mute yourself. All right. So as you're finishing up the notes, here it goes again. Step 1, we need to check to see if it was in standard form. Ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. Since it wasn't equal to 0, we change the y to 0. There it is. Step 2, divide by the leading coefficient. The leading coefficient, there was none, so we put an invisible 1 divided by that. Step 3, eliminate the constant. The constant was the number without the variable, which is -16. What is the inverse of that? Add 16 to each side, bless you. Step 4, complete the square. How did we complete the square? Well, we took -6 divided by 2 squared to each side, and -6 divided by 2 is -3. -3 squared is 9 for each. And then we simplify and we're there. All right, next, here's some more practice from the warm-up. Step 5 in blue, factor. Let's do this one together. Do you know how to factor this trinomial? Yes, Mr. Q. Yeah, we can use the Power Rangers, 9, -6. Factors of 9 that add up to -6, they are -3 and -3, or in other words, x minus 3 squared. Now, let me show you a shortcut. Instead of drawing your diamond or Power Rangers, whatever you want to call it, like this, we can just look at our trinomial since we know it's a perfect square. Let me repeat that again. It's a what? A perfect square. That means I can take the square root of the first. What is square root of x squared? X. What is square root of 9? 3. Use the sign of the middle term. There it is. And then just write square. That's a shortcut. So you can go a little bit faster. All right. And now we get to the last 1, 2, 3 steps, but I'm just going to write step number 6, which is one big step. All right. We need to leave x by itself, which means we need to get rid of this squared. So what shall I do, everyone, to cancel that squared? Yeah, take the square root. Whatever we do to one side, we do to the other side. We're doing this together. So I'm going to write here square root. And we're left with x minus 3 equals, what is square root of 25? Yeah, plus minus 5. Next, we still need to solve for x right here. I'm going to write solve for x. So what do I do here, everyone, to leave x by itself? Yeah, plus 3 plus 3. So we end up with x equals 3 plus minus 5. Doesn't that look a little funky because we have 3 and then we have a plus and a minus between the 3 and the 5? Yeah, that's done on purpose because at the end we need to write 2 EQs, 2 equations. Equation number 1 or x sub 1, equation number 2 or x sub 2. Do you guys see the 2 equations from here? Yeah, what's the first one? 3 plus 5. Let's write that here. 3 plus 5, and that gives us 8. What's our second equation, everyone? 3 minus 5, which is -2. These are my solutions. X-intercepts, roots, zeros. Ooh-wee. We got this, yes? It's just 8 itty-bitty steps, guys. Come on. All right, so once again, we did the recap. We went step by step. Let's do another one together to see, so we can get our steps cleared up. Copy this. Example 1Q. And it reads x squared minus 4x minus 12 equals y. And I have the steps over here on the right side just so that we can follow the steps. So I'm going to get us started. Here we go. Step 1 says standard form, and it has to be equal to 0. So what do? We change the y equal to 0. So this is x squared minus 4x minus 12 equal to 0. Step 1 done. Show your neighbor the second step before I call on someone. Second step, what would you do? All right, step 2. Fredo, go. Divide, okay. Which is? No, what is the leading coefficient? Yeah, an invisible one that's right there. So I'll divide it by 1 and I end up with the same thing. Very good. Make sure you write that step down so you're creating some muscle memory, because once we have a number there, you should be able to do that. Step 2 is done. Step 3, eliminate the constant. Joel, go. What do I do? The constant, the number without a variable. What do I do? Yeah, add 12, add 12. We're left with x squared minus 4x, empty space, equal to 12. Next, step 4, I need to complete the square, or that next step. Dylan, tell me what to write to complete the square. -4/2 squared, and we add that to both sides of the equation. -4/2 squared. Let's simplify that. X squared minus 4x plus 4 equals to 12 plus 4, and this is 16, and then I just bring this down again. All right, we're done with step 4. Factor. All right, remind your neighbor how to factor this, please. See if they know the shortcut by now, or just use the Power Rangers, that's fine. All right, Christina, factors for that. X minus 2 squared, that is correct. Now, once again, you can use the Power Rangers, 4 and -4, that's -2 and -2, or you can just do square root of the first, square root of the last, and sine of the middle, and square it. Okay. Next, we need to leave x by itself. So it says here, take the square root to get started. So I take the square root of this side. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. We got x minus 2 equals plus minus 4. Next, we still need to solve for x. I wrote this out of order, but it's right here. Solve for x. Continue, Christopher. What do I do to solve for x? Add 2, add 2. We end up with x equals 2 plus minus 4. And last but not least, we need to write 2 equations. X of 1 and x of 2. All right, share with your neighbor your 2 equations, see if they have something similar to you. All right, Lorena? Yeah. And the second? Hands, have you got that? Yeah, we got this, yes. All right, from 1 to 5, how comfortable are you with these? Yeah, 4 or 5, 4 or 5, yeah, we just need practice. Let's do another one. Do this next one by yourself. Let's see how you do with the whole thing. Example 1, supercube. X squared minus 4x minus 6 equals y. I left the steps on the side for you to follow. Try to do it without looking at the steps. See if you already have it automatic from here. And I'll come right after, give you a head start. All right. Let's see how we did. Get us started, please. What do I write underneath that equation? Julian, go. Thank you. Continue, Briseida. Divide the entire equation by the leading coefficient, which is 1. So it's x squared minus 4x minus 6 equal to 0. Continue, Alessandra. Add 6, add 6. So we end up with x squared minus 4x, empty space, equals 6. Continue, Jessica. Add -4/2 squared to both sides. So tell me what you write underneath, Jessica. X squared minus 4x equals to 6 plus 4. So that means this is 10. And then we write x squared minus 4x plus 4. All right. Next, continue. Jaden. Okay, so what are my factors? X minus 2 squared. Thank you. Continue. Alyssa. Square root to both sides. We end up with x minus 2 equals plus minus square root of 10. Wait a minute, Mr. Q, that's why you made us practice finding the square root of a number like that? Yes. However, for the sake of time, I'm not going to ask you to find the decimal. I want you to leave it as square root of 10 for right now. You're like, oh, thank you. You're welcome. Next, we still need to leave x by itself. What do I do with that -2 valente? Add 2, add 2. X equals 2 plus minus square root of 10. And now we just end up with two equations, x sub 1 and x sub 2. All right. So first equation, Zoe, what would I write? All right. Help her out, please, Juan. 2 plus square root of 10. And down here, 2 minus square root of 10. Hands if you got something like that. Yes? Okay, I think we got it. All right. All right. So from 1 to 5, how comfortable are you with these? Now that we did 1, you went solo, 4, 5, okay. All right. Now look at this next one. Don't copy it. Write your utensils down, look up. Example 1 mega cube reads -3x squared plus 18x minus 15 equals 0. If you notice, step 1's already done, yes? So we go to step 2. Tell your neighbor what we're going to divide the entire equation by to go to step 2. What do we divide the entire equation by? All right, Dulce, go. Yeah, by the leading coefficient, which is -3. And check this out. This is how it works. -3x squared divided by -3, we're left with x squared. 18x divided by -3, that's -6x. And -15 divided by -3 is +5, all that equal to 0. And that looks familiar, doesn't it? Yeah, and then we just continue as going along with the rest of the program. So with that said, I think we got completing the square down out cold. Let's go to quadratic formula. Write it down, please. Quadratic formula. Quadratic formula, also known as, or AKA, we call it the QF. Quadratic formula. Y'all ready? Here it goes. Let's see if you heard this before. X equals minus B plus minus square root B squared minus 4AC over 2A. Copy that. X equals minus B plus minus square root B squared minus 4AC over 2A. X equals minus B plus minus square root B squared minus 4AC over 2A. X equals minus B plus minus square root B squared minus 4AC over 2A. I ran out of room. That's okay. X equals minus B plus minus square root B squared minus 4AC over 2A. X equals minus B plus minus square root B squared minus 4AC over 2A. X equals minus B plus minus square root B squared minus 4AC over 2A. X equals minus B plus minus square root B squared minus 4AC over 2A. X equals minus B plus minus square root B squared minus 4AC over 2A. I think we got it right. X equals minus B plus minus square root B squared minus 4AC over 2A. All right, without looking at your notes, tell your neighbor the quadratic formula. All right. So, and why do we need that, Mr. Q? Because we need to solve a quadratic equation using the quadratic formula. Copy that, please. Example 2. Solve using the quadratic formula, and they give us x squared plus 16x equals negative 15. Once again, example 2, it says solve using the quadratic formula, x squared plus 16x equals negative 15. And I'm going to write shorthand steps on the right-hand side. You can do the same. Step 1 is the same as the previous one. It has to be in what? Standard form, and it has to be equal to 0. Is it equal to 0, guys? No, tell your neighbor what we need to do to set it equal to 0. Yeah, add 15 to each side. That leaves us with x squared plus 16x minus 15 equals 0. So far, so good, yes? Yes, Mr. Q. All right, step 2. ID. What does that mean? Identify, yes. Identify A, B, and C. So right underneath this one, the standard form equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. So with blue, what is A, everyone? What is A? 1, that is correct. What is B? 16. And what is C? 15. All right. Step 3. Here we go. QF, tell your neighbor what that means. Yeah, write the quadratic formula, and then from there, we're just going to solve using the quadratic formula. So I was gonna call on Jalen to give me the quadratic formula, but I'm just gonna go ahead and write it. Ready? X equals minus B plus minus square root B squared minus 4AC over 2A. X equals minus parentheses plus minus square root parentheses squared minus 4 parentheses parentheses over 2 parentheses. Can you guys hear me when I'm speaking loud out there? Really? Like louder or what? What? No. Can you guys stop messing around with the mute, please? You do know that I'm recording, right? And I can see those of you that are messing around with the controls. My goodness. Anyways, let's start substituting A. Where is A? Next to the 4, next to the 2. So that's 1 and 1. B, 16, 16. C, 15, right there. All right, let's simplify that. X equals negative 16 plus minus. What is 16 squared? That's 256. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4 times 15. That's negative 60. And all that over 2. Oh, yeah, I got this. Negative 16 plus minus 256 minus 60. That's 196 over 2. I'm going to go this one since I'm running out of space. I'm going to write negative 16 plus minus. What is square root of 196? Yeah, 14 divided by 2. All right. And now at this point, we can actually do our 2 equations, x sub 1 and x sub 2. All right. So, Jalen, x sub 1. And that is negative 2 over 2, which is negative 1. All right, x sub 2, Delilah, go. That is correct, and that is negative 16 minus 14, that's negative 30 over 2, which is negative 15, and those are my solutions. Ooh, and tomorrow's Friday. Come on now. Come on now. Let's go. So from 1 to 5, how comfortable are you with quadratic formula? So let's take a quick vote. Who likes, I want to see which one do you prefer, completing the square or quadratic formula? Hands for completing the square. Hands for the quadratic formula. Okay, we're about half and a half, okay. All right, I'm gonna stop the video right there. Make sure you do your home plate tonight. And we'll continue with this tamales. Bye.